Even clefs were actually invented to move do into a new position. So they were actually used to make the system portable. It's surprising. And we now act as if they never were. You know? Okay, so what happened is the F was, then later they wanted to create another symbol. The next new key that came along was G, and G had one sharp in it, called F sharp. And what they did is, again, they went to their typecase, and they looked at their typecase, and they saw this thing called pound. Pound. The English pound was this little tic-tac-toe symbol.
Phone.
Yeah, and on the phone you have the pound key, which is that. And we would put L and B in front of it, you know, to know how many pounds somebody weighed. So again, they took from their typecase something they had already, and they said, we're going to call that thing a sharp now and use it. So these were not invented for the sake of music. They just took what they had in their typecase and used them. It turns out the only symbol that was actually invented for music was what we call the neutral sign. This is the only symbol that didn't exist in the typecase and was invented later. I'll show you how to use that in just a minute. But so that was a new invention. Anyway, what happens is, as I explored, I found out that the way that it works is when you start putting sharps on the line, the sharps always go on in a specific order. And it doesn't matter what that order is. We've studied it and talked about it, but the truth is you don't need to know it. You just need to know that every printer in the world knows it, and they're going to use it, and you can take advantage of it. No matter how many sharps there are up here, the furthest to the right, that sharp is always going to be the number 7. Always. So if I have a sharp, now I'm going to fool you. If I have a sharp and I put it here on that line there, okay, not where F sharp goes, right? But if I put a sharp there, that line would be the number 7. That's all it means. So now that I know where 7 is, can I use this pattern to now label all the lines? Yes. So what do we do? The line here is 5. The line below that is 3. The line below that is 1. And now we know where 1 is. I can put X here to mark the spot. And now I can go ahead, and this is 2, and go above that 4, and go above that 6, and go one below that to 6, and go another one below that to 4. And what have we got? From 4 to 4 is 2 octaves. From 6 to 6 is 2 octaves. So I actually have 2 octaves and 3 notes here. That's bandwidth enough to notate any musical instrument or anything that a person can sing. So that's enough of that. If I use 500 sharps, I'm not going to put them in the right order, but say I put a sharp here, and then I had a sharp up here, and then I put a sharp down here, and then I had a sharp here, and I had a sharp here, and I had a sharp here, and I had a sharp here, but my last sharp wound up right here on this line, okay, then the rightmost sharp on that line would mean that that line is the number 7. So you got that? So now I can use that to label everything. We have 5 here, 3 here, 1 ledger line below would be a 1, there's a 2, there's a 4, and 1 above is 6, and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to read music.
Well, you don't necessarily need the 7 to go back to the system. You can get, once you get any note, you can find 1 is.
It's exactly true. Thank you. Now you're thinking. The point is that
Finally, free at last.
yeah, and this is so universally true that if I know any line or any space anywhere in the system, if I know what it is, then I can use that to label everything else, right? So all I need is one bit of data to figure out this whole thing, and use this wheel as a way to decode all the lines or decode all the spaces. Now, I like to do the lines because the lines are very solid and easy for your eye to see. If you start labeling spaces, your eye kind of falls through the spaces. So you'll see in most cases we always use lines. You will not find a clef anywhere in the world that goes on a space. As clefs were invented, all clefs were put on lines. The G clef goes on a line. The F clef goes on a line. The C clef goes on a line. The alto clef goes on a line. The soprano clef goes on a line. The tenor clef goes on a line. The viola clef goes on a line. Every clef ever invented in history goes on a line. And the reason they go on a line is because it's easy for the eye to see that that line is being marked. If I put some crazy little symbol where the space is, I'm not sure if it's on the space of a line above or below. And it's harder for my eye to see. Your eye falls through the spaces, and we see the line as positive space. So they always mark one of the lines with a letter of the alphabet to tell you where the ABCs are. Now let's look at flats. If I have flats, and I really can't see that. All right. If I have a flat, and let's say I put a flat right here on that middle line, the last flat is always the number 4. So if that line there is the number 4, then I know the line below it would be 2, the line below that would be 7, the line below that would be 5, and going the other way, 2, 4, that would be a 6, right? That would be a 1, that would be a 3, that would be a 5, and that works that way. So now we don't need to know about all the sharps. We don't need to know about all the spaces. I mean all the flats. All we need to know is the one that's on the farthest right. If it's a sharp, it's always what number?
Sharp is 7.
Sharp 7. Do they rhyme?
They both start with S.
Flat 4. Flat 4. Do they kind of rhyme? Yes. If I say a flat is 7, does that rhyme? No. If I say a sharp is 4, does that rhyme? No. It's like, what is it? Tight, righty, tighty.
Right off.
Lefty, loosey, right? Same thing. So sharps, 7. Flats, the number 4. And it's always the one on the furthest right. And by the way, there are some people like Bela Bartok who does not use the sharps the way everyone else does and puts them on the staff completely different than anyone else in the world. But it doesn't matter that he uses a different pattern. The first sharp that he puts in is always F sharp. The second sharp he puts in is always C sharp, regardless of where he puts them on the staff. So he follows the same pattern, even though he places them in different places in his music. So the rule still applies. The rightmost sharp will always be the number 7. The rightmost flat, always the number 4, even in Bela Bartok and even with Eric Satie, who hated all of this stuff and created their own tradition. Okay? So it still works. Now, let's look at what you have in your hand there. What I did is I've given you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 little melodies. And what we need to do is decode this to find out what the melodies are and see if we can guess out what they are. First thing we need to do is to use this key signature to find out where the number 1 is. Okay? So, we got 3 flats. The flat furthest to the right is going to be the number 4. And you'll notice that that flat is on that second space from the top. I mean from the bottom, right? So where would the number 1 be? If I count from there, 4, the line would be 3, the space would be 2, that bottom line becomes the number 1. And you see I put a little X there to show you where 1 is. So now let's look at the first note. This first note is, how high from 1 is that first note?
3.
3! So the first note is the number 3. So I'd like you to write right in front of that note the number 3. Or you could write it over. What would be the next note? From
2.
2. So the next one is 2. And the third note is what? It's landing on the line, so it's the number 1. It's the number 1. Then the next note is what number? 2. The next note is 3, 3, and 3. So we have 3 3s in a row there, right? So again, can you put the numbers right over those? Okay, and then the next, so you're writing 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3. And now over here we have, what's that note? That's a 2, 2, and a 2, right? So we have 3 2s in a row. So put the number 2 over each of those notes. Then the next one is 3, and then it skips up to a 5 and a 5. So this melody goes 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 2, 2, 2, 3, 5, 5.